Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we are just after market close on Thursday, November 4th. We're going to take a look at Rocket Lab, RKLB today. I was interested in this when it was first running up and then kind of forgot about it, and some folks in the comments reminded me of it. So I took a look today and thought it was an interesting time to take a look. So I think a few things kind of forming here. There's this very obvious cup shape. And there's this very obvious range consolidation here, to which it broke to the downside and then didn't consolidate or build a base very long, maybe about a week, which doesn't necessarily mean that it can't be making a move now. But I just sort of wanted to unpack it a little bit, and then we'll also flip over and take a look at some data on Ortex and just kind of get a full lay of the land. Before we get too far along, if by the end of the video you ended up enjoying this and you'd like to see more, I am sort of crowdsourcing feedback or input, ideas, thoughts on a Patreon. I would still keep putting out these YouTube videos for free. That wouldn't change, but this would be in addition to that. So if I were to be able to spend much more time sharing content on stocks throughout the day, videos, charts, what have you, that would be a way that I could realistically do it. So in the description below, the very first thing that you'll see there is a link to a survey. If you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes and filling that out, if you have any thoughts, I would really appreciate it. Once I get to 50 responses, I'm going to kind of consolidate the info and take it from there, and kind of make a decision. But all right, let's hop into the video. Enough of that nonsense. So if we look at this hammer down here that reached down to 950, and then we took ourselves up to 2134, here's what, no, come on. Here's what the fib retracement looks like. So it came down nicely, actually, to the 786. So that gives me a little bit more confidence that this kind of brief consolidation here could be sort of like enough. We had a consolidation around the 618, which is great, and then a move down to the 786 and a brief consolidation there. And definitely, though, it spent a decent amount of time in this range, right? Sort of put in a little mini cup here between the 618 and 786, which looks pretty fantastic to my mind. So that's one way to look at it. And then another thing that I'd be looking at here is clearly this most critical area here, which is right about where it is at the moment. There's like this little band here. I mean, I could also make this like a box or rectangle, which would probably look a little bit better, to be honest. So let's pop it in like so, and we'll extend it into the future. So it'll be there when we need it. And this is the area that I'd be watching very closely to see what it does. Can it work itself through this area? The other question is, it's put in a pretty perfectly symmetrical cup here. Is it going to come down and put in a handle? And if it does, what I'd be looking for is for it to not come down any further than 50%. So if we look at the 1220 here, we take our fib level up, to the top of this candle here. Our 50 level is right about 1423. So that would be the area that I would look for it to stay above or at least not flip it to resistance, I guess is probably the right way to put it. It could dip, but if it's a brief dip, that's okay if it quickly regains. But flipping that to resistance sort of would throw the whole potential for a cup and handle kind of out the window. So those are a couple of options that I'd look for. Now, it may put in a very brief handle, right? I could very easily see it finding a strong support zone here, which encompasses a bunch of previous support and resistance. I mean, you see it here, resistance that flipped to support. You see it here, resistance, and it tried to catch support on it here. Support, resistance, support. So pretty strong zone there at 1495. There's also that sort of like psychological effect of that $15 level right? Which could impact some folks coming in or deciding that they don't want to sell out at that level. So I could see 15 being kind of a strong hold for RKLB if it continues in the direction of the bulls. Now, if it doesn't and it breaks that 1423, then it's going to probably have a bit more room to come down and sort of rework a formation or a some sort of trend to develop. 1323 would be the next level down to my mind, so quite a big, well, exactly $1 drop, which a stock at this price, that's quite a hefty percentage. But that's what I would look for to the downside. To the upside, it's really simple. Work itself through this box, basically establish clear support over 1657, and then it can sort of go, off to the races. I think then it sort of could get into breakout territory depending on how quickly that takes shape and how quickly that evolves. Now, if we want to look at some additional factors here on the chart, take a look at the EMAs. Some nice bullish crossovers here. So you see the 12 EMA in white crossing above the 50 and then crossing above the 34. And those are both bullish crossovers. So nice bullish movement there. Definitely a tailwind in that sense. MACD sitting right at the baseline. So this is a really nice place for this to kind of form this trend reversal and break out. And if it did, it would have plenty of room to the upside per the MACD indicator to make a nice run. So good bullish crossover there at the moment. The RSI establishing above the 50. So what I usually look for here is what happens at the 50. So you see right here, it just kind of blew right through the 50 level recently and is approaching the overbought territory. This is a glitch that the Webull app is having these days. I don't know why. The RSI stays there for a few seconds and then disappears and then comes back. But in any case, that RSI is looking pretty solid. If we want to pull in the Ichimoku cloud just to have a look, this gold line right here, and then this yellow line, the gold line crossing above the yellow line with the price action above the clouds is considered a strong buy signal. So that is, a strong thumbs up for the bulls from Ichimoku cloud. None of these things foolproof, of course, but sort of trying to string together some support and resistance, some trend, and then of course some indicators. I would say the thickness of the cloud also indicates the strength of the support or resistance. And so right now you do see these are pretty thin, right? So it is considering these areas to be pretty thin support. Whereas over here, if it's still above these clouds, that would have pretty strong support over there because that cloud is so thick. So that's what I see on the indicator side of things. I guess the other thing we might as well put in, just in case it continues to play a role, is there could be a bit of an ascending triangle, which is a bullish formation taking shape as well. And it would even leave itself a little room to take a breath here and kind of still retain this motion. But you see sort of this trend here established by these candles here. And so if it at least maintains that, it coming up to, like, even if it were to consolidate here and if it were to pick back up and try to make a run here, this could be looking like a flat top or an ascending triangle and have a nice bullish push out of there. It could fall to the downside, but this is typically considered a more bullish trend or formation than a bearish one. But I have seen it play out bearishly for sure. I've seen it in crypto on SHIB recently, and I also saw it on Palantir on an intraday chart that you could find if you really dug through my Twitter into some tweets from last week or the week before. So that's my view on the charting side of things. Now flipping over here, not worried about that. We're going to come into RKLB, take a look at the data on old Ortex. And here's what we're looking at. So 3 buys, 1 hold, consensus price target from analysts $22, leaving over 47.5% of potential return to the upside. So that's helpful. Not because I think that the analysts are necessarily right and super spot on with their target, but to the, if it has influence on retail and or has influence on institutions to come in, then that could help. Price change basically flat over the last month, up less than 1%. And the short interest coming in a bit today, but the short interest as a percentage of the free float is extremely low. And they aren't holding on to their their shorts positions for very long, just a day. So really nothing here as far as I'm concerned in terms of like a bunch of pressure being put on this by short sellers. I think for the time being, it's relatively safe from distorted optics, distorted selling pressure from short sellers. Well, I don't have a position yet in RKLB, but I'm going to be watching this very, very closely. Another reason that I wanted to selfishly come and take a look at it was to sort of plot out a potential play for myself. So I'm going to be looking at this, see if, we put in a little handle here, if we just sort of like blow the top. That could be the other thing. Could just blow the top off of this flat top, right? That's another sort of breakout pattern, is just the blow off. And we'll sort of see what happens and just kind of take it from there. But if anything major occurs, I'll be happy to come in and do an update video on RKLB and go from there. All right, folks, I hope your trading week is going well and that you're able to finish it off strong tomorrow, and I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.